3.3 major project 8 final phases. This reflective video really is just going to talk about and summarise what I've done for project 8. All of the making has been completed. I did do 2 extra samples, or made 2 final pieces, and these were just really because I wanted to. I think I've kind of found my way with some of the materials that I particularly liked using. I loved using the tuck stitch on the knitting machine, and using the split rings where the split ring was hooked up into the needle bed, and then I carried on knitting that in. This, I think, is perfect for demonstrating armour, and also as well, as I've discussed in previous videos, the weight, the texture and the colours. So it's all relevant to the past research that I've done. And I think also as well, completing the final performance pieces, I will call them, everything has just come together. There's been lots of hard work, large scale, small scale, and as a collection, as a collective collection, when you actually see it all together, I think it speaks volumes. I think it speaks about the Red Armour line for dyslexia, and I think I've titled the exhibition well. Again, all of this came in with the final phases of the work. There was lots of theoretical planning, I will call it. Now, I will say that I kind of lost my way with my project plan, because I think each of the projects has always started with a mind map, but this here has been my book of planning and my project plan, and I keep this at hand pretty much at all times. I find it a good source of reflection, knowledge, bullet pointing, mind mapping, everything. Something that I might need to purchase, something I might need to complete, a date, a time, all goes into that. So that is pretty important to me as part of my notes. I feel as though sometimes using the Padlet has been brilliant for the project plan, because you can kind of see it visually with the images that I've attached, but sometimes I feel as though I just adding, it doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel natural having a project plan that you kind of have to think ahead and make dates and targets and so forth, because that doesn't work for me personally. I think I've discovered my way of working. Sometimes it can be visual, sometimes it can be a drawing, or it can be research. I think research has become a core to anything that I have done or will do for the future, because I think this presents a good strong foundation and it feels out the direction of the work. And obviously building up knowledge, new learning, and I think that's been really good with me and my tutor, where we've been sharing ideas. I think we do speak from the same song sheet, and we kind of do bounce off ideas off one another. She kind of gives me a little bit of a light bulb, or she makes a suggestion. I don't always necessarily go down that route, but I will extract what's important with the feedback from her, and kind of divert the energy into where I feel it's necessary with the work. Things have come together. I think it's been kind of a long journey where it stands with venues for exhibitions. I personally think that it could have possibly been mentioned previously as an earlier project. Think about considering venues. I think the only reason why I have done what I've done with my arrangements is because of my knowledge from 3.2, and I think we probably don't anticipate that actually when you are trying to book a venue for an exhibition, wherever that may be, you still have to kind of fit in with their calendar. Then there are contracts, possible room hire, then there's health and safety and all of that, and that is quite time consuming. And also as well, you don't necessarily always realise the time differences from when you start to engage with your initial emails till the final ones. I've been fortunate for the fact that I've had contacts from 3.2. That kind of developed of its own accord, really. I could have gone into the library. Cost wise, that was quite reasonable for a 2-week period, but I didn't like the idea of leaving work there while I was at work full time. My chosen venue, the Carpet Museum, there was a breakdown of communication with one particular person that works there. That has now been resolved, and I've spoken direct with Kidderminster Carpet Museum manager, who within a matter of a few hours resolved my issues and problems. So I will be going and taking some of the work, and she wants me to situ the work in the Carpet Museum and use a lot of the backdrop and so forth. They are very interested then in putting that work on their Instagram feed, so they have been really helpful and kind. I would say the word kind, because I have found that part of trying to get the work in a particular place that I wanted to, because I wanted it to be the textile venue. And also as well, they do have, which I've researched as well as part of my research, they do have a Vivienne Westwood corset on the entrance, so it kind of all kind of connected and brought things together. Anyway, cut a long story short, that is going to happen within the next 2 weeks. It is only going to be a photo session, but I think that that will open further doors for me. I did mention about going in and doing a talk, and then obviously they'll feed it a student from the local area using the museum for their degree pieces. So I've got that in place. And then another idea that came up was to possibly use retail units, which I discussed with my tutor. But I think the problem for me there is a lot of the retail units that's been taken out in the small towns are now become quite run down. I think caretakers would be more than happy for a couple of days or a week of putting work into a window, but again, didn't really fancy that as an idea. So what I've decided to do, or what I've asked this week, a friend of mine's got local business and she's a florist. She's rather creative in her own way. So I'm going to go and select 2 pieces which are a little bit more organic, that would work within that environment, a creative environment. And also as well, I think it'd be quite interesting to have a different type of audience see the work. There will be possibly 1 or 2 pieces, and then obviously a piece of information for somebody to read, and I'm sure Jan will then obviously say, you know, what that is all about and so forth. So that's quite exciting. And the biggie is I have, during Project 8, been making renovations on the garage, because the house has been undergoing renovations while I've been studying over the past 3 years since we moved house. So we had doors fitted earlier this year, so I was able to seal the walls and the floors and get those painted up. It is only a small space, because the back of the garage has lots of rubbish and other stuff, yarns and sketchbooks and old project work, but I think I'm going to be able to make good use of my space. And also as well, I think it's quite surprising the planning that goes into setting up your own exhibition with your own facilities. So things like getting enough mannequins. I've been buying second-hand mannequins, and also as well, I came across mannequins that will hang to demonstrate and display some of my smaller bespoke pieces of work. And I think also as well, I don't really need, as long as the full collection is there, I think I could have my laptop there with my blog on. I could put a few sketchbooks out. It's going to be for family and friends, because I think over the duration of 9 years study, you kind of disappear out of the equation and you make a lot of sacrifices. So I think that would be good for them to just kind of wander in and out and have a look. I have to say that the exhibition and all of the work, I suppose, now that we're in our final year, has become rather important to me. And I think that I now see the exhibition as I'd like to dedicate it to mum and dad. And I think it'd be good for them to actually, see the work, and also get to read my story, because it's something that you don't necessarily discuss, of how difficult you found academic learning at school. So I think that will be interesting for them. I think it'll be quite emotional for them to see, and I think they'll probably think, how the heck did he fit all that in while he was working full-time and renovating the house? But fortunately we make these sacrifices, and anything's possible, in my opinion. So I've got that, and then I will be doing some performance work with Henry that I used in 3.2. He's mad as a box of frogs. He's a fashion student in his final year, so he's prepping to go off to university this year. So I'm going to again select some pieces. I'm going to get him to dance and perform. But one of the key things that I am actually going to do is I'm going to take a couple of the garments, selected pieces, because I can't obviously take them all. I'm going to take them back to the playground. I've already discussed this with him, and he thinks it's a good idea, but Henry really gets it with the idea of, how to wear something, how it should move, how to interact with the materials. So he's a useful tool to have. And also as well, I think he kind of likes the stuff that I do. He's always inquisitive, and when I'm over cutting his mum's hair, he's like, can you have a look at my sketchbook? But this is where I've went and asked at his college for work experience. Obviously I've had to pull back on that because things have been rather busy. So in the meantime, I am going to prep another email, and then possibly once I get December out of the way, I'd like to venture into the Birmingham's fashion and textiles, possibly with a view for the future of a career change from hairdressing. But we shall see. And then finally, I am also compiling a portfolio. I've just purchased 50 transparent leaves in a leatherette A3 binder. I think that would be quite nice for an interview situation. Obviously all of this is documented on my blog and my Google Slides, so I don't want to feel as though I'm repeating myself. But what I can say is, as a summary of learning, I have learned a hell of a lot in 3.3. I think everything's slightly started off a little bit slower. I think it takes time to get in, and then once the ball starts rolling, I think we naturally start to flourish. And I think it's apprehension as well. Obviously the ongoing preparing for assessment, having the exhibition, that doesn't worry me. I think it's just that now it is the fear of not being with the OCA, because for me over the past 9 years it has become a personal place of self-preservation for me. I studied my degree for personal reasons, and I've used it as a support mechanism. So hopefully all of this learning that I've encroached from OCA, I will be taking forward. So I am looking forward to Project 9. Really, I think Project 9 will be just simplified. It will be photographs and video footage, and I kind of think it will be good then to just have a little break through December, which is what my plan is, and then return towards the end of December, and then obviously get prepared for assessment.